This is One Fat Boy, and here are my NBA game predictions for February 25th of 2022. Tonight there's 9 games, and I'll be going over the spreads and over-unders for each of the games. For the Thunder at the Pacers, I'm going to lean towards Indiana -7. So the Thunder played last night, and Indiana has had the past week off, so there's a rest advantage there. Plus Thunder being one of the worst teams in the league, and then Indiana, they're kind of in the same boat, but I think there's more consistency with the Pacers, with Halliburton, who's been playing great, and just overall how Indiana's been playing compared to the Thunder. I think Indiana should come out with a win. I think them covering up -7 spread is possible, more possible than the Thunder staying within the 7. So I just lean towards Indiana over that way too. But overall, I do expect an Indiana win. We'll be going under 216.5 as the Thunder, their scoring is not great. It mostly has to go through like Giddy or Gilgeous-Alexander. So if Alexander struggles, expect the Thunder struggle, even though he played well against the Suns. You expect that for 2 games in a row. Then Indiana, their scoring is kind of here and there too. Maybe a little better now with Halliburton on the team, but I'd lean towards the under 216.5 for this game. For the Rockets at the Magic, so for these 2 bottom dwelling teams, I'm just going to lean towards the Magic, as I think over the Rising Stars, I think Magic have a better pair than what the Rockets have. So I'm just going to lean towards the Magic in that sense, as like Jason Tate, he played well, Porter Jr., he played well, but I think between Anthony and Suggs, I think the way Magic have been playing, it's been better than what the Rockets have been putting forth. So hence why I have to lean towards Orlando winning and covering the -4 spread. And they'll be going over 228.5, as both these teams have been playing, well, they're more offensive teams, especially the Magic as of late. So I expect a high-scoring affair for both these 2 teams, as both of them not really known for their defense, especially the Rockets. So I expect a lot of points to be scored, and I think if these 2 teams, if it does come down to defense, I think Magic have more defensive players. So another reason to check mark for Orlando to win this. So Orlando winning, then over 228.5. For Toronto at Charlotte, going with Toronto -2.5, as I have more faith in Toronto to win and just like win in a close game than I do with Charlotte. As Charlotte, they can just like throw away games, they can go cold, and that just takes them completely out of the game. If that happens, then Toronto, they'll just win the game, as Toronto's a little bit more consistent. They have a lot of options that they can attack the Hornets with, so hence why I just have to lean towards Toronto, as even if they get down early, they'll fight their way back in. Charlotte, if they're down big early, only like balls consistently show that they'll keep on fighting through that. But overall for Charlotte, they're kind of hit or miss, but Toronto's more consistent, so hence why I'm leaning towards Toronto. They'll be going over 226, as Charlotte doesn't play any defense, so Toronto should get their points without a problem. Then if Charlotte gets going, they can put up a lot of points. So hence why I'm going over 226, mostly because it's a Charlotte Hornets game. They're usually high scoring. For the Spurs at the Wizards, I'm leaning towards San Antonio -2.5. So I do expect Washington to be one of the worst teams in the league after that trade, as they're going to have to rely on Kuzma a lot more. And with Beal being out, they're going to really have to rely on who's really there for the Wizards and who's healthy. While the Spurs, I think they're a little more well-rounded. They're not going to be like winning like a ton of games, but they're at least a team that you're going to have to at least show up and play against, as they're going to still fight to win those games. So hence we have to lean towards San Antonio -2.5. They should come out with a win, because San Antonio, they'll play like great the first 3 or 3.5 quarters, and maybe they'll just fall apart in the last 6 minutes or 4th quarter and just lose the game that way. But I think against the Wizards, I think the Spurs will be able to hold up and come out with a win. We'll be going over 225.5, as both teams are not known for their defense, but the Spurs games are usually high scoring, so hence I'm going over 225. For the Heat at the Knicks, I'll be going with Miami -4.5. So Miami's a lot more consistent than the Knicks, even if with injuries with the Heat. I think no matter who's playing for the Heat, the Knicks just struggle overall, because if Randall doesn't show up, then Knicks struggle. If Barrett struggles from the field, Knicks will struggle even more. So, hence why I just have to lean towards Miami winning and covering a 4.5 spread because they're more consistent and just how they play. They can rely on their defense. They can also rely on their offense. Knicks more often not have to rely on their defense. So hence why I'm leaning towards under 211, as I expect both these teams to be more defensive overall. And I expect Miami to cover because they have just more scoring options that you have to respect than the Knicks. For Philadelphia at Minnesota, so I'm going to lean towards Philadelphia because Minnesota played last night, and I expect the teams that have had the week off and should beat the game teams that played last night, and Minnesota is one of those teams. I think Philadelphia, especially with Embiid, they should dominate Minnesota without a problem. Like, I'm surprised they're putting it at -3 spread, as that's pretty close. Because even like Embiid has beaten like some respectable teams without point guards, so I expect no different. I will be going over 227 as Minnesota games are high scoring, and I don't think anyone will be able to slow down Embiid on Minnesota. So expect a high scoring affair with Philadelphia coming out with a win. For New Orleans at the Suns, so the Suns played last night. I do expect them to still win, but I think it'll be a close game as the Pelicans, they're rested up. So if the Pelicans can push the pace, I think that'll keep them in the game. Try and get the easy baskets, but the Suns, they did have to play their stars a decent amount last night, so they will have to try and win this game in the first half if they want to rest those players. And I think the Pelicans will try not to allow that to happen. The Suns are playing at home, but weird thing with the Suns, they'll win at home, but it'll usually be closer games. They're more focused when they're away from home. I will be going over 227 as the Suns will be able to score on the Pelicans. I think the Suns defense is going to be a little more sluggish since they played last night, so the Pelicans should be able to take advantage of that. Hence, I'll be leaning towards like a closer game and over 227. For the Mavericks at the Jazz, I'll be going with Dallas plus 6.5, as Dallas's defense should keep this game close, keep it low scoring, and Doncic, honestly, I think no one on the Jazz is really going to slow down Luka at all, so I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas comes away with a win, and I really do expect them to stay within that 6.5 points. As how their team is set up now, I think it's an improvement with Porzingis off the team. Like, they're a better team now than they were before. Then Utah, they're consistent, but they're also not consistent at the same time. But I think Dallas's defense is consistent, so that's what I'm just going to lean on for sure, as that's been consistent throughout the whole season. And they'll be able to take advantage of Gobert, as there's a lot of outside shooting for the Mavericks, and they can make Gobert like a non-factor overall in the game. So, hence I'll lean towards Dallas just because of Doncic, and then under, as both teams, they can play defense, and Dallas's defense is much better. For the Clippers at the Lakers, we go with the Clippers plus 1.5 because I think they have the players or in a scheme to at least force LeBron to have like a rough game, have him tough time scoring, or they can just have the entire offense run through LeBron and just wear him down and just really close out on the shooters to really focus LeBron, have to backpack the entire team the whole game, which when it comes to fourth quarter, it's going to be too tired, and the Clippers just have to keep the game close and just sneak by with the win. So I think overall this will be a close game, and I'm going to lean towards the Clippers winning overall. And then I'll be lean towards under 223.5, I think, because the Clippers defense should be able to slow down the Lakers because Anthony Davis, he's out, and then Westbrook, and because that's just how he's been playing. And the Clippers have been playing well without Paul George and Kawhi. They've found their kind of niche how they play, and they're able to win with their defense and just keep games close and execute at the end. And that's what I expect to happen. And thank you for watching. Always bet responsibly. Put thoughts into your picks, and once again, thanks for watching.